On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, the Avs make a trade with the New York Rangers, bring in Ryan Lindgren and Jimmy Vesey. What can these guys add? Was it a good deal? Let's talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. If you want to get in on the conversation, join our subtext. The link is in the show notes below. And when you do chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, we get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which, of course, we share on this podcast. We'll get the thoughts from our subtext people on this deal, what they think, all that fun stuff. We'll do that a little bit later. But let's dive into that, sir, because, yeah, it was I won't say it was like a big deal, but maybe. We'll see where this goes. This was honestly kind of like the first trade, I feel like, in the McFarland era where I'm taking a wait-and-see approach. Usually, I generally like where they're going and like the idea of the trade. And I do like the idea of this trade. I do. But there's some risk here, but is the risk well, there's so much I want to get to. I want to get your thoughts on it first, but I'll talk about the risk stuff later. But is it a risk worth taking is kind of the question that you kind of throw out there. But give me your thoughts on this, on how you feel like this trade. Does it benefit them? Do you not like it? Do you like it? What do you think?
Well, see, and when this broke on Saturday, I
don't mean to interrupt you. I probably should just throw out what the trade is to start before you even get into it.
Go ahead.
I meant to do that, and I didn't mean to throw it to you before. It happened on Saturday. Yeah. But obviously, I just wanted to throw it out just to catch people up in case you for whatever reason we're not up to speed. The Avalanche and the Rangers made a deal. Out to the Rangers goes Calvin DeHaan and Juuso Parssinen, and a second round and fourth round pick in this year's draft. The Avalanche get Ryan Lindgren and Jimmy Vesey and defender Hank Kempf, who is still in college at University of Cornell. So that's your deal. Okay, so the big names here, obviously Lindgren. And he is the biggest name. I don't want to make it seem like there's a big name going back to the Rangers. You get depth pieces if you're the Rangers, but that's the deal. Just to summarize it for everybody, go ahead, Shaggy Von Doom.
Yeah, and even when you read it again, like Saturday when that broke, I was in dad mode. I was kind of hanging out with my kids, doing stuff, and you sent me a message. Avs just made a trade. I was like, oh. My eyebrows furrowed.
Sure.
What is this? I look at the trade, and I literally just put my phone down. I was like, whatever. It's like, and I agree. This is one of those McFarland moves that usually you're like, oh, I see where this piece fits. I see what you're doing here. And you even mentioned the risk aspect of things. It's on the grand scheme of things. I think the thing that hurts me the most is the draft picks.
A lot of people are with you on that. Yeah.
I think, honestly, if it was just DeHaan and Parssinen for this, I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. You're swapping out some risk that you were able to squeeze some production out of into more veteran presence that you're getting about the same production from. Mm-hmm. Lindgren doesn't do it for me. He's a 6 foot, he's 6 foot, and his points production's really not there. He was touted as being a compliment to Adam Fox and just never panned out to be that. And it kind of feels like a Ross Colton-ish move. Tampa Bay had big plans for Ross Colton, just never happened. And that's kind of what you're getting with Lindgren. And Jimmy Vesey, my goodness, he's worn almost every jersey in the league. He's been around, and he's also not going to do much for you as a left wing. He doesn't really provide points. He's kind of a physical presence. He's kind of a scruffy, goonish guy at times. But when it comes you're losing DeHaan, you're losing Parson. Okay, Sure. This
Right.
isn't going to wreck the team. What you're bringing in, could it wreck the team? I don't know. Do those vibes, like, I keep thinking, that's the one thing I keep thinking about this trade is, do these personalities and styles fit with the current Colorado Avalanche? And I don't know what that still is at this point, if it adds to or takes away from, but it's just a very head scratching trade.
I think Lindgren can fit in with this thing. Like, he's a really good skater. He's a fast skater. And you know, the Avs don't shy away from bringing in a guy who needs a fresh start and like rejuvenation project. We've seen them do that many times before, and we always point to Valentin as the, you know, the gold standard of a guy who just needed a new city and a new team. And I think that's where the Avs are going with this, clearly, because Lindgren had like he was off to a really good start in his career with the Rangers and playing with Adam Fox and on a top pairing, and looked okay. And a lot of people want to turn to when they made the coaching change with Peter Laviolette. It hasn't been the same for him. So, and maybe the Avalanche are looking at this saying like, okay, like, yeah, we agree with that. That's when the change happened for him. If we get him out of that system and get him into a different system, we can bring out what you saw glimpses of in New York. Well, and the other part of it, when I said like he plays with Adam Fox, he's not going to be asked to do that in Colorado. He's going to be asked to play with Cale Makar or Devon Taves. That pairing is locked in. So he was averaging just shy of 20 minutes a game. He's not going to be asked to do that. So that's where I'm taking this wait and see approach, is because he's going to be playing a different role. And maybe it's a role that just suits him better. He's not going to be asked to be playing top pairing minutes. He does have more, like the Avalanche, if nothing else, with both of these guys got bigger. So that is something that they lack on both sides of forwards and defense. And neither one of them you're going to ask for, you know, a massive point production. I think as poor as we're saying, you know, as much of a drop off as Lindgren has had points wise, I think he's got his career high in points this year. And we still got 20 some games to go, but that's not what he's there for. He's there for more of a you know, defense in, you know, in every facet of the word defense. But the other part of that is like he gets injured. I read one article that was like he sneezes wrong and he's going to be out for 2 weeks. So in one aspect, you're like, oh darn. In the other aspect, you're like, welcome to the Avalanche. So it really is like I want to like it, and I'm going to like it now, because with any trade, you have to ask yourself, does it make your team better? And I will say this, I don't think it makes them worse.
Yeah.
Don't think it makes them worse. And when you make deals around the trade deadline, you're always asking the other question of, how does this benefit you in the playoffs? And for DeHaan and Parssinen, we're really going to rely on those guys in the playoffs, in that they're really going to like step up their game. I think you can confidently say like you knew what you were going to get from those guys, the best that you could have got from those guys in the playoffs. I think for at least Lindgren, like you can hope that when the playoffs come, he's one of those guys that ups his game a little bit. Vesey, I don't know. We'll get to him in a minute, but I want to like it, and I think it could work, but I am going to take a wait and see approach for how this works. Maybe all those things I just laid out, they all got to go the way of the Avalanche. And the big one is the system. Maybe it just wasn't the system, playing too many minutes in New York. Didn't like the system under Laviolette. And if you watch the press conference with Jared Bednar, he's almost giddy to get someone like Ryan Lindgren. So I will defer to the head coach who's happy about this than me just sitting here just saying like all the reasons why I don't like it.
And I want to make a point about Lindgren in a minute after the break, but I do agree with you about Parssinen and DeHaan. I think the Avs probably got all you're really going to get, and especially when you're thinking playoffs, I don't feel great about either one of them in a playoff type scenario. Like, you got probably more than you should have out of DeHaan and Parsonen. Parsonen was just a cool clip and that really cool goal that he scored.
Yeah.
And other than that, you could probably find that production everywhere, anywhere. And in another trade as the extra player, you could probably get that for Parsonen. DeHaan, it was some veteran presence. Like, he had some spark, but other than that, he was very pedestrian.
Yeah.
And I'm not too worried about what they sent out. It's just a lot of question marks that I want to get to about Lindgren and Vesey coming in on the other side.
All right, let's do that right after this. Going to hear from Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts available. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Talk about this often. I am the no shells variety guy. Kyle is the shells. Kyle likes to get cracking.
I'm a shell raiser.
So if whatever variety you like, no shells or with shells, you can get that with Wonderful Pistachios. Get snackin and get crackin with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com right now to learn more. All right, more on this trade between the Avalanche and the New York Rangers. I don't want to. I mean, maybe this is the trade that there's only get some trades days before the trade deadline that kind of gets things going. I don't know. Maybe this was. I mean, you did see a Seth Jones trade the day after, so we're not going to talk about that. But what else? You had some other thoughts on this one between the Avs and Rangers with Vesey and Lindgren.
Yeah, and like Chris, I know you got some like experience and knowledge on the Rangers, and I'm gonna just like anytime I throw this out, like you hear the word trade from the Colorado Avalanche and defenseman. What's the name that you hear the most on the Avalanche side?
For defenseman?
Yes. Who do you want traded out?
Oh,
defensively.
Traded out defensively?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, I don't really want any of them, but you're always hearing Sammy G.
So
you're always hearing Josh Manson.
That's correct. Ding ding.
Yeah.
You won the points in the car. Why did we just trade for another Sam Girard?
Oh, I don't think Lindgren's a Sam Girard. I mean, nah. I mean, he's a body. He's a much bigger body than Sam Girard.
Well, he's got 2 inches on him. He's got 2 inches on Sam Girard, and about the same point total.
Mm-hmm. But they play different styles though. Like Sam Girard is a very good puck mover. Lindgren's not really like
That's my next point. Where do you put Lindgren? Is it to tutor Malinsky? Is this going to be like veteran? Like, let's work with the new guy he's shown some flashes, but needs some veteran tutelage. Do you drop Manson? Like, what are we? Because I don't really want to put Lindgren with Manson. That just feels like that is
I don't think that's
an
going to
anchor.
happen. Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's I think that's kind of maybe a little bit pointless to do that. That's just 2 guys that struggle to move the puck and 2 guys that are kind of like bigger body. You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be Girard and Lindgren or Lindgren and Malinsky, which I wouldn't mind Lindgren and Malinsky. I wouldn't mind that.
I wouldn't either, but it's also like, will Malinsky start picking up, like having to overcompensate for some things because Malinsky has proven he's not the best puck mover either. So
at times, but you're seeing him improve with, like, you've seen him do very well with that. And then he kind of just hit a wall. And I don't know if it was mental or what it was, but since the break, he's kind of gotten back to his feeling more confident player because he can absolutely move the puck. So if he's over that mental part of it, the mental block of it, he could definitely be that guy.
Because I feel like this is a third pairing defender. And honestly, like a couple weeks ago when we were talking about who do you want to trade, what do the Avs need? We talked about veteran depth forward and maybe one more defender. Well, honestly, if you kind of cross your eyes and look at this trade upside down, you got it. You got your veteran like Vesey. He's going to be Kiviranta 2.0. Like
which
you
I'd be
might,
happy with.
yeah, which is you might get a appearance once a month, but he's going to be playing 15, 20 minutes. Don't ask much of him. Lindgren, he has
Well, I
the
don't think VC's going to be playing 15, 20 minutes.
well, if he's on
VC's
like
not going
four,
to he'll be 10, 12 minutes a game.
I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But also like with Lindgren, there is that scary possibility that it does work and this becomes more. Like you're not going to max out on that top line. And what part of the dynamic are you going to mess up with the second pairing defenseman? The Lindgren thing is the one that I'm doing mental exercises over. Like VC, plug him wherever. You're not expecting a lot. He was the other name in this trade. Lindgren is interesting. And it also makes me wonder, is this it? Is this everything? But I'm wondering what they see in Lindgren.
We'll get to what could potentially be next in a minute, but I think what they see in Lindgren is they looked at him and he's played with one of the better defenders in the league with Adam Fox, and they've seen some success with him in that role, and now they're asking him to. You don't have to do that. So is it one of those things where it's like in New York he was on a top pairing and saw the best forwards from the opponent game in and game out. And now you drop him down to either other pairing, second or third. And what he sees instead of the best players on the other team is the secondary players or even maybe the tertiary players on those teams. And he can handle that. I think that's what this is put him in a role that he can handle more because they were overextending him in New York. And I, to an extent, I get that because when he kind of first started out, it was looking good. And then I think I don't know if the game caught up with him. I don't know if it's the again, going back to the system that Laviolette plays, it just clearly was not working. So, and the Avalanche look for guys like that. Look for guys that say like, okay, why is it not working there? Does that mean it can't work across the board? No. Can it work here? They'll give those guys a chance. I'm not saying it's always going to work, because there are times it hasn't worked. But the Avalanche have proven to you they are willing to go out and take a shot with someone and put them in a different system, and not have to face the best of the best like Lindgren was having to do and struggling doing so. Put him in a different role, less minutes, and away we go. And let's see what we can do here. And you know the number thing, I think the Rangers kept 50% of his contract too. That always comes into play as well. Like where are you going to go and find someone that what you want to get and do the numbers work out in the process too. So
see, with his role, I feel like I have this terrible feeling in my bones. They're going to stick him with Sam Girard.
I think they'll move. They'll see what works. Sure, they'll put him with Sam Girard. They'll put him in Malinsky. He's going to be on the penalty kill. He's great on the penalty kill, so that helps you there.
And on paper, that sounds like a wonderful idea. Mm-hmm. But like in the last 5 years of Lindgren's career, he hasn't jumped over 20 points. And all of his points primarily come from assists. So he's going to be activating Sam Girard, which is wonderful. And this is going to force Sam Malinsky to be active with possibly Josh Manson, with Manson being the body and Malinsky being the driver. I hope that dynamic can pay off and work. And I hope this doesn't have to make Sam Girard compromise his game a little bit, because he really can't afford to. Mm-hmm. I just hope this is a dynamic that works, because honestly, Girard and Manson both have their huge negatives, but it gets complemented by the positives of their pairing. And this dynamic, I hope it doesn't mess up our second and third D pairs, because it hasn't been the best this year.
No, you're seeing it's like anything else with the Avalanche for this year. It's been up and down, and I don't think bringing in like Ryan Lindgren is going to like solidify and make and smooth out everything that's going on the defensive side of things. He's been relatively consistent with his point production. Again, that's not really where I'm going when I'm looking for someone of what he brings to a team. But let's see, going back to when he really started getting kind of, being a regular player for the Rangers in 2019, 2020, 14 points plus 16, and then 16 points plus 20, 15 points plus 18. In 2022, 2023, at 18 points plus 29. 2023, 2024, 17 points plus 22. And then in this year, he's got 19. So he's already got a career high in points, and he's only a +1. So the offensively, he's being consistent, and that's what you're getting out of him. Maybe even a little bit more consistent than past years, because he's already got his career high. We still got 20-something games to go. Where he's struggled this year is on the defensive end. The Rangers defensively, their defensive numbers are atrocious. He's part of that. He's not the reason for it, because when you take in all the defensive numbers, that's all of the defenders. He's not solely to blame on that, but he is a defender for the New York Rangers, and he's a reason why their numbers are bad. They're 31st in expected goals against at 5-on-5, and 32nd in expected goals on the penalty kill. So, and I just said, like, he can help you on the penalty kill. He can. I know that looks really bad, and he's a part of that too, but he can do that for the Avs. There's so many things that you're just like, I can see that it can work, and there's so many things where it's like, if it doesn't, he's only there for the remainder of the year because he's an unrestricted free agent, likely not going to get signed by the Avalanche unless they move out someone like Josh Manson or something like that, and they're happy with what Lindgren gives you for the rest of the year. Maybe you do sign him, but I don't know. There's a lot of balls in the air with this right now. I'm leaning towards liking it, because does it make you better? Yes, but I'm not on the deserve to win-o-meter. This is like 80% winning for the Avalanche. I think it's a sound move. I don't want to say it's like a good move or a great move. I think it's a sound move that does make sense, but it needs to play out and obviously favor in the way of the Avalanche, which all we can do is just let the games play out and see what happens.
Yeah, so. It sounds like they just got another Sam Girard with Ryan Graves adjacent qualities. And honestly, the impact of this move, this should have happened like the day after the Mikko move. So you had a little bit better idea on where this is going and what you need to address next.
And we want to talk about that. Like, this is not the end for the Avalanche. They're not going to make this deal and then just sit back. I think, you still want to address some depth stuff. So I want to hear from the subtext people, and we'll talk about what could potentially be next. And we'll do that next. Okay, I want to get to some subtext comments here on this. We had Cody says, going around the league and learning about this trade, some things I heard consistently was that Lindgren, even with his regression, would be an upgrade over DeHaan. Yeah.
Easy.
And everything else was kind of filler, aka here's some players we don't have a use for anymore. The only thing I didn't like was giving up the second-round picks, and I think they could have packaged that in a better trade.
Yep.
So the picks are the thing with the picks, though, is like it depends on where standings and stuff like that and what the Rangers get. But those were potentially picks that the Avalanche are going to be flipping. They weren't their picks to begin with. They made them in previous deals, and now they're just forwarding them to the Rangers, likely. But it is nice to have draft picks when you don't have a lot of draft capital, and the Avalanche don't, as far as first round picks for the next few years. And when they were getting picks back in some deals that they were making, you liked that part of it, and they kind of just turned around and are probably going to be sending those out.
And it's doubly sucks because the Avs just have a terrible track record at developing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the best way to hit a bullseye is with more arrows. And if you're trading out your arrows, you've got to be really reliant on who you do draft. And I have no confidence in them developing that.
Yeah, it's been a struggle there for sure. Yeah. Tanya says initially I didn't care one way or another about this trade. I think she means thought it was pretty irrelevant, but after watching as much video as I could find on him, I like the trade. He's got some skill, and I think playing with Adam Fox probably didn't hurt, even though his stats have dropped dramatically over the past 2 years. I think it's more likely situational. A change of scenery is probably exactly what he needs to bounce back. Additionally, I love his physicality. I think he's definitely had some questionable hits, but Colorado seems to have a way of cleaning up that type of thing in players who come here. I think he plays well, and I think this will be similar to Taves and Nichushkin. I expect people to be surprised at how well he fits and improves his game. I'm optimistic about this one. Still salty about Mikko. Not going to change my mind on that one. Totally fine, Tanya. I'm not going to tell you not that we all got attached to Mikko, so that's totally fine. I do. I think people are going to be impressed with his, like, he's got speed, and the Avalanche obviously like that in their players. So he does have, the speed, the size, and kind of like that grit, sandpaper type of player. But that also leads to him getting injured a lot. When that's your style of game and you can't stay healthy, maybe you got to change up the way that you're kind of addressing how you're playing the defensive side of things.
And we got the altitude factor to think about, and the Avs are always injured, so it doesn't bode well for you, Ryan.
Kay says, on paper, this looks like kind of a bad deal. Lindgren seems to have fallen off a cliff. Parsonen wasn't a game changer, but he was solid. And so was DeHaan. I have to assume the front office thinks the Avs effect will help Lindgren find a good spot and improve to where he was a couple of years ago. That's not a crazy hope. He's only 26 after all. She goes on about VC, but she doesn't really know much about him. Seems like they're serious about taking some risks towards shaping a balanced team, and I am on board with that. Okay.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about VC much, but I mean, he's seen the home and away locker rooms of mainly every team in the league. So, I mean, that should tell you something.
I just keep going back to what Chris McFarland said in the press conference, that little press conference he had after the Mikko trade, and just said we're not deep enough. And I think like someone like VC could be what he's looking for. A bigger bodied guy, and I just get a vibe with the Avs that they want their depth guys, in particular the fourth line, to just be a line that doesn't give anything up.
Yeah,
just go out there and if you're in the defensive end, you can be sound defensively. If you're in the offensive end, you can keep the puck in the offensive zone. If you get an opportunity, take it. If not, leave the puck there for your top line to come out and do their thing. Can VC be that guy? I don't know. Like I like his size, and the Avs don't have that. He's immediately becomes their biggest forward. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not over Val, but he could be what the type of player that they want for a depth guy, fourth line guy.
Yeah, he's got that talent where he gets annoying on long shifts, or if it's 4th on 4th. He always makes something happen, but he's not going to be racking up the points. He's he's just out there to maintain, and knowing you have that line one coming out. I mean, you want somebody like that, so he could work too. But we'll see.
Adam, I'm struggling to be excited about a guy that's seriously fallen off the last 2 years. McFarland is really banking on these 2 years being an anomaly. I know the Avs system revitalizes a lot of guys, but you can only catch lightning in a bottle so many times. There's truth to that. But, who was it, Kay, that said, the Avs system? I think they believe in that. I think they believe in what they have and how Jared Bednar coaches these guys. And they can go out and find guys that haven't worked in other systems, bring them in and revitalize them.
I get that. But also to all those like McFarland haters, hold on to this trade. And the Avs effect people, also hold on to this trade, because there have been hits, but the more the years have gone on, there have been a lot more misses too. So hold on to that.
Well, I saved Vargar for last. So, so he was not happy about this. Congratulations to the Rangers unloading a frustratingly bad player who takes dumb penalties. Sometimes it's usage and the New York Rangers coach overplays him, but he's really fallen off since he signed his current contract. They cleaned out space and are going to make a move. McFarland got schooled for a second time when it comes to helping a team lose a player they don't want. Ryjo 2.0 is what he says.
That's
an extreme, Vargar. I don't think McFarland got schooled here. Like, let's get real here about, like, you got rid of Juuso Parssinen and Calvin DeHaan.
Yeah,
you're not getting schooled here in a deal. But again, this goes to the whole question mark thing. I don't think this is Ryan Johansson, because you were expecting Ryan Johansson to be way more than what you're expecting Ryan Lindgren to be.
and,
but I get where he's going with this. Yeah.
Especially because, like, the Ryan Johansson thing, like the Miles Wood thing, is very up in the air. Ross Colton, until this last game, you were having some serious questions about him. Like, the whole, we are building the team on these moves and none of it panning out. I get where Vargar is coming from, because everybody likes to point to Val Nichushkin. We even have the conversations around him this year. Like, what are we doing until he came back? Like, you still don't know if he's going to make it the whole season. There's a lot of questions around this quote-unquote Avs effect, because mainly the one that's really done it for you is Arturi Lehkonen.
Yeah, well, and Nichushkin. I mean, you got to give the guy a lot of credit. He's missing games because of injuries, but
and missing playoffs.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, I get that part of it, but his play when he's out there is.
It's like when he's there, it's there. When he's not, it's because he's not there. And I get the Avs effect worked, and we need some more of those to hit. And and again, you're not asking this. This is not supposed to be your blockbuster trade here. Like, this is depth. Like, this is not saving your team. Look at our new headlining, brand new poster child. No, this is a depth move. This is not. This is literally a talent swap.
Well, what? I mean, in that aspect, like, what is next for the Avs? Like, this is not like this is not it for them. It's, they made their blockbuster move. That's the Mikko Rantanen trade. You're not getting another one of those. Where you're going now, like this, you could get more of something like this, more of guys that they bring in, maybe that are reclamation projects, or guys that they've had their eye on for a little while. And I think, you might get another defensive move here. Defensive moves get made a lot around the trade deadline because you need that going into the playoffs. But I don't think the Avs are done addressing, like, the forward side of things. I think you're going to get a semi-big move from the Avs. Who goes out? I don't know. Miles Wood is obviously at the top of that list. I feel like that makes sense. Colton, I don't think. I mean, I believe he has a limited no trade clause in his contract. I don't have it in front of me, but so that could be a little bit dicey. But I don't think they want to get rid of Ross Colton. I think they really like Ross Colton. You could see some moves here, but players that go out is always tough to say. But like I said, I think Miles Wood is towards the top of that.
Yeah, because you feel like their next move, like, depth-wise, you feel like you're okay-ish. If you get another move, it's going to be a talent swap. But they could Miles Wood, Ross Colton, Casey Middlestat. Like,
man, the Middlestat one is so interesting to me because
you're going to move that, you have to put somebody in his place.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't rely on what you have. So look at the 2C market, see if there's something out there that catches your eye. Other than that, those pieces should not be touched for anything else.
But I don't think they want to get rid of Casey Middlestat to bring in a rental 2C, because you have Middlestat for a couple of years after this. So why send out something that you have at least something on term than, a rental? And now you're right back in the same situation. And I've looked at the unrestricted free agents when it comes to centers for this offseason. It's not that deep. So, and are the Avalanche thinking what we've talked about now that you have Drouin and Nichushkin there? Granted, they can stay healthy. Does that just improve his game? Could be that simple.
Yeah. So again, if it's a big blockbuster 2C, that's when that's entertained. Miles Wood, Ross Colton, possibly. Other than that, you're doing depth swaps, and you would get that on the defensive side too. You're fine at goalie. If you swap another defender, it's, I don't know, maybe you're going for money, and maybe you finally pull the trigger on the Sam Girard thing. or Josh Manson, because you're getting tired of the ups and downs. But it's going to be depth. But the blockbusters, I think, are done. And if you're going named forwards, Miles Wood is, I agree, probably your guy.
And if you're looking at depth, just to throw out some players, I think maybe the Avs like Jake Evans. I like Yoel Armia. Both those guys are on Montreal.
Not a lot out there that makes me.
No, there is. There like Brock Nelson's the top one there. I don't think they're going that road anymore.
No.
I just don't get the vibe that they are. If the Avalanche really want to improve their depth, you're going after Brandon Tanev on Seattle.
I would.
You're making that move.
I would celebrate that move like the Nas deal. I love Brandon Tanev. I love his game. He screams Colorado Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
If I was McFarland, I would have already had that deal done. So,
and that might be like for a Miles Wood type of move. Like you're kind of swapping out a guy that just goes 110% for another guy that does. But Tanev is a little bit more well-rounded than someone like Miles Wood. So I would really like that move.
Yep.
I would love that move. We'll see. I think that's where they go mainly now is bottom six guys, or if something big happens where they want to address a 2C and send out Middlestat and they get creative, we'll see what happens. But it's coming around the corner here, man. So we shall see. And there's a guy out there in Pittsburgh that's coming to town on Wednesday that maybe just stays behind. That'd be nice. Come on.
I've heard they're trying to build another team around Sid, and I'm just like, whatever.
Why? No. All right. Well, lots to talk about for this week. So make sure you're tuned in to each and every episode for this one. Thank you for making it your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. You guys are another 24 hours closer to Sidney Crosby being in a Colorado Avalanche sweater.
Maybe.